I'm John Atack,
I'm Sam Atack.
and this is an Opening Minds presentation. I spent decades working with people who are recovering from their involvement with authoritarian groups, and sometimes it takes a very short time to get somebody to rethink their situation. But it can take a very long time for somebody to integrate back into society and feel confident and self-determined, there's a word. Again, that they have achieved what we like to talk about as emotional autonomy. So they're not being pushed around by, other people's feelings or having to comply through their guilt or their fear or their aversion
or
that's been
shame
brought about. And those things often persist for decades. They can persist for decades after involvement. So many years ago, I started sort of thinking, well, prevention is better than a cure. They say an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. And I have worked that out in metric terms, but I'm not going to get into that here, frankly, having given a couple of talks where nobody laughed when I said it. An ounce of prevention is better than a ton of cure, because you can actually get over the simple ideas of authoritarianism and, the tyrannical bullying society, as opposed to the consensus democratic society, which we aim towards and have nowhere near achieved. You can teach people the traits of human predators, how to see their techniques, their methods of seduction and recruitment, and we've talked about that elsewhere, and we'll probably never stop talking about it.
Yeah, we'll keep going on and on.
Yeah, endlessly.
Yeah.
So prevention is better than a cure, and that means that we need to talk with people who are young enough to still be bright enough not to have been taken in fully and utterly. My friend Lady Daphne Vane once said to me that it's taken in with your mother's milk, the compliance that we have. And so, we might have to start very early indeed. Maybe
embryonic
stages of genetically inserting non-compliance into people. But putting aside that possibility, and I think we probably ought to, because we haven't got the pipette small enough to do it, we need to reach people in adolescence before they've been caught up in their first toxic, abusive relationship, before some authoritarian religious or pseudo-religious figure has inspired them to do crazy things that are against their own interests. And that leads us to the guru trap. That my experience, my long experience in this field, is that we love to have gurus, we love to have authorities, we love to have somebody to tell us what to do, and we love to sit back and let them do it. So every now and then you get a kind of protest movement, what's happening in Hong Kong at the moment, where millions of people are saying, we wish to retain the democratic privileges we have. We don't wish to become part of the fascist state of China. Of course, 30 years ago, on the 4th of June, 1989, which was the day before my birthday, millions of people for some weeks had protested the tyranny of the fascist Chinese government. And in Tiananmen Square, they were surrounded by troops who were brought in from outside of the city because the Beijing troops actually were in sympathy with the protesters.
Yeah.
And civilians who were unarmed were murdered in their thousands on that day and during the following weeks. I think there were 700 executions afterwards as well. And they were being killed by a paranoid, tyrannical state. Now, so sometimes people get together and protest and do something, but often that requires a critical mass. It requires a point where enough people are saying something. Now, Sam is saying things, I'm saying things, and we're part of a group which is unincorporated and has no organisational status called Opening Minds, but we have a great deal of support from many people who have spoken out and continue to speak out. But to do something preventative, we need to do something that's grassroots. We need to do something that anybody can, find a piece of and do something. So the first part of that is to think about the ideas we're suggesting. Are there truly human predators in our society? Is all of the work that people like Robert Hare and Kent Keel have done about psychopaths or sociopaths, is it valid? Think about that. Look at the criteria we suggest for that. And if you believe that there are indeed narcissists, malignant narcissists, and people who are selfish, and that they tend to be antisocial, and there are better pro-social things to do, then talk about it. That's the next part of it. Find somebody and talk about it.
Yeah.
These days you can talk about things online. You can write things in the comments page here if you want to. And I might even respond to it, you never know. Spike will very likely respond to it because she's a lot more efficient about these things than I am. But it is a matter of spreading these ideas. Now, there's a horrible group that calls itself the Fellowship or the Family. It was called the International Christian League. It's had a great deal to do with making our society unfair, supporting genocides, all sorts of terrible, terrible things. But they came up with a concept called benevolent subversion. And this is a concept that we would like to promote, benevolent subversion. So think about it, talk about it, spread the idea out, and add your own ideas to it. Add your own perspective, your own anecdotes, your own stories, your own experience. Because this isn't just a matter of going, well, this like John Atack, he's a guru and we should do what he says, because that would be absolute folly.
Yeah.
And
quite lazy.
You've tried doing what I suggest, haven't you? And it's
it never works.
Never works. Never. Well, sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Occasionally it works.
Mostly.
In cooking, for example.
Yeah. What do you mean by benevolent subversion?
Benevolent subversion is where you put ideas into a culture rather than trying to be violent and overthrow things and getting nasty and chucking petrol bombs at people. You put ideas forward that are helpful. And those basic ideas are in our society. The idea, some of those ideas are enshrined in the American Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That we all have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That all men are created equal, and all women are created equal too, and the women are created equal to the men. That there shouldn't be a differentiation based upon race, gender, and that the essential concept of society, I believe, is justice. And that once a justice system or a law enforcement system becomes corrupt, then society doesn't work.
Yeah.
At its worst, this becomes what's called bakshish in the Middle East, where to get anything done, you have to pay a bribe because the officials aren't paid enough. And that still functions throughout China, for example.
Yeah.
Sorry to say, very corrupt culture. President Xi, I'm told, has now arrested 1.5 million corrupt officials, but there hasn't been much investigation into the massive amounts of money held by his own family.
Yeah.
So that could be a little bit of a problem.
He hasn't arrested himself yet.
He hasn't arrested himself, and we'd suggest that if he is watching, President Xi, if you are watching, arrest yourself straight away. Until we overcome corruption, where people have they're not doing what they're doing for the people who elected them, they're doing what they're doing for themselves, while we still have these mad systems of lobbying, whereby corporations are able to stop progress in society. The energy companies are now all very sort of, we're all on your side. It's like British American Tobacco saying that they want to phase out the use of tobacco. And you're going, well, stop growing it. That would be a good way of phasing it out. That public relations people have come into this to help these groups lie basically, about what they're saying.
Be gamble aware. Stop when the fun stops.
Stop when the fun stops.
No, when the fun stops.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop when the fun stops.
Yeah.
Stop when the fun stops, or drink responsibly.
Yeah.
That's one of my favourites that we have in the UK. It's like, don't drink too much.
Yeah.
And that's very helpful. Prevention is better than a cure. If we can put ideas into the society that show the simple tricks, the use of confusion techniques, Cialdini's brilliant 7 principles of influence. If you know those things, you're a lot less likely to be the victim of a pickup artist or a cult recruiter or a radicalizer or a pedophile groomer, or indeed somebody who will have any kind of abusive authoritarian relationship with you.
Yeah, and you're more likely to be able to see if your friends or family are getting involved in such groups and offer advice to them to help them out too.
And I think we should stop there, and then we can talk a little bit about giving advice to friends and family, maybe. I'm John Atack.
I'm Sam Atack.
Thank you for sharing your time with us.